it can be difficult to understand how artificial intelligence agents are actually being used until you've seen somebody walk through a use case. So, when I recently came across a bug in one of my programs, I wanted to take the opportunity to document the process of me walking my way through diagnosing and troubleshooting the issue using AI agents. So the bug that we're looking at here has to do with the syntax highlighting. This is all one string. We see some of it's blue, some of it's white. That shouldn't be the case. We really want a consistent coloring across the board here. So the code that is driving this is hosted on GitHub in a GitHub repository. So it's all online, and I can allow my agent, in this case that agent is a cursor agent, to access this repository. I give it permission to look at this code and use all of this code as context to diagnose and troubleshoot the issue. So I had already marked the issue as a GitHub issue. I put the task in here. I gave some relevant contextual information. And what's happening now a lot of days is not what I did in particular, but you can directly point it at this issue. So we're seeing more direct integration with GitHub in particular in software development, where I could just say, look at issue number 57, please fix this. I didn't take that route in this case. I just didn't have it configured to do so. I actually opened the dashboard. So Cursor is a popular IDE based on a VS Code clone. It has this dashboard where you can create these agents. So if I want to make a new agent to solve an issue, I can describe my problem. I can point it at the repository I want it to work with. So in this case, I pointed it at my step into Python repository. That's the application with the bug. Point it at a branch if you want, and I can pick my model. So I chose Codex 5.3. Here's Claude's model. Opus is a very capable coding model. It's going to use whatever I gave it to solve the issue. So let's look at the task I gave it. I just copied and pasted up here at the top from that GitHub issue. I've resized some of the elements on the screen. Hopefully that's easier to read. So I didn't tell it how to solve the problem. I just described the problem and sort of gave it some general notes and guidance. Please come up with a proposed plan. I didn't tell it to solve the issue directly. I just wanted it to show me its planning steps and proposal. And I mentioned some notes here. I'm not sure what's the most robust way to identify those snippets that we need to highlight with syntax. I said, I'm not sure, should I put the logic in the domain or put the logic more in the presentation layer? Don't worry too much if you're not following the software terms. But it was able to use the context that I gave it to answer my questions directly and come up with a solution. So it diagnosed the issue and gave me its recommended solution. Don't detect unclosed quotes. That's the solution that's currently in place. It wants me to highlight the full code in one pass and use these sort of placeholders that it's going to drop in. So what it's technically wanting me to do is, right now it's treating this as one chunk, trying to highlight it, treating this as one chunk and trying to highlighting it. It says that's a bad idea. You should drop in some placeholder text, highlight the whole thing, and then swap out the placeholder text with the inputs. So that's the technical solution that it wants to propose, and that's a pretty robust solution. And then it asked me, if you want, I can implement this in small commits. So rather than one big bulk commit, it is a better idea to get it to work iteratively in little pieces. And I said, go ahead, please implement these changes. So I want to note here there's two main ways that people are working, sort of the standard that people are doing from day to day. I would say at this point is not these big cloud agents. It is people sitting here in the IDE, and they would pull open that snippet, ask something about it, so provide some context directly in the IDE and say, there is an issue here, and it would propose solutions within the IDE. These cloud agents are good for a couple of things. The cloud agents are good for when you have a large amount of context, so not just a little snippet you want it to look at, which is what it's using here, just these lines, but you have like a major refactor and you need it to look at the entire application. Cloud agents are good for that because they can sort of index all of this code that you have posted on GitHub and figure out a more robust solution. They're providing more tokens to it. Second way that cloud agents are being used is for automated pipelines. So DevOps is becoming a huge deal. The workflow we would see would be something like, when it's done, it creates this pull request with the issue, but it's actually running some tests. So if we drill into this pull request, we can see what it did. So I didn't create this PR. The agent created this PR. I can see it changed these 4 files within my application. It did it over a series of 3 commits. So the way I'm going to check this is pull in this commit and check it sort of on my own, give it a sanity check, put my eyes on each of these commits, pulling them in one by one. And when I'm comfortable that the solution it gave me is the right thing to do, here's the changes it made. When I'm comfortable with that, I will approve this pull request and check it in. But another thing it did over in this checks is it ran code QL and scanning results. There might be additional security checkpoints in this pipeline that was rigged up. So you can put this DevOps tool chain together that these agents can sort of hand off from one to another and perform different actions. So the next thing I'm going to do is drill down into the changes themselves and see how those worked. That provides the meat of what I'm trying to get at in this video, of how these agents are actually being used. I could just put my eyes on it here directly in the browser, and if this was a really tiny change and I was comfortable with the fact that it was correct, I might approve it right there because it does create tests. It created these unit tests and checked those in, which we'll look at shortly. But in this case, it's a big enough change that I am going to pull it into my local development environment using a pull command and look at those, put my eyes on those before I approve.